Farms can be very busy places. Farmers and growers, delivery and service providers, along with others who visit the farm, often face a variety of potential hazards. Stop for a moment and consider some examples of what could go wrong. Vehicles continue to become larger and harder to navigate. Have we given consideration to access and movement on site? Are there obstacles that hinder visibility or make it difficult to make a safe delivery? Perhaps overgrown vegetation, stuff piled up and around delivery locations, wet, slippery, snow-covered or uneven ground? Are tipping, loading and unloading areas a safe distance from overhead power lines? What about our children and animals? They're often attracted to large equipment. Are they supervised and protected to ensure there's no threat from these moving vehicles? In all of these examples, a lot could go wrong. And this leads us to think, have we communicated and discussed site expectations with each other, especially if you're a first-time visitor? Have we identified potential hazards and worked out a plan to address them? Ultimately, as farmers or visitors to the farm, we have a shared responsibility to act and to protect each other. After all, we're partners when it comes to business and to safety. And the best part is we can often do it with little cost or effort. Making good choices, acting with caution on the farm, it's important. Things can change quickly, and we all have to remain focused and dedicated to continuous improvement as it relates to managing any risks. Stop for a moment, think, and then act. By working together, we can ensure that deliveries are done safely and that moving vehicles are no longer a cause for concern on the farm.
Growing up on a farm provides many opportunities for children. However, it's important that we educate them about the risks involved in the busy farm workplace. As parents and employers, we have an opportunity to provide them with ways to manage the risks. One tool we have available that we can use to educate our young workers with is the Stop, Think, Act motto. It's perfect in its simplicity as anyone can use it. As parents and employers, we need to encourage all of our young workers and family members to stop, think, and act when they're doing their daily activities on the farm. If we can take a brief moment to encourage our young workers to stop and think about the tasks they are about to do. Do I know how to do the task safely and successfully? Do I have the necessary tools? Do I require any personal safety equipment, and if so, is it available, and am I using it? Once they've thought about the task at hand, we need to encourage our young people to act. If they feel there is a need for additional explanation about the task, by all means ask for clarification. Any parent or family member will be more than happy to take a few moments to explain the safe and correct procedure to complete the task. Ultimately, as an industry, we all need to work together to create a culture of safety where we stop, we think, and we act to ensure we can all go home safe and healthy at the end of every workday.
At work, we talk about being mindful, and yet we often hear about really capable people being injured or killed on the job. Sadly, it's sometimes people we know. One of the great things about the Stop, Think, Act program is that it enables us to work safe by doing one of the simplest, smartest, common sense things, to stop when faced with anything that could be harmful. This gives us the time to think about what the safest options might be. Do I clearly understand the task? Am I physically and mentally ready? And do I have the right tools and equipment? When we act safely, and sometimes that means not acting at all. There might not be a safe solution at hand. We might need to find proper PPE, or we haven't been properly trained. In fact, it's important that we make sure new and young workers Understand that the best employees are those who don't put themselves or those around them at risk by undertaking anything that might be dangerous. Stop, think, act. We can all benefit from this common sense approach to working safely and ensuring we leave our workplaces just as healthy as when we arrived.
Hearing is something we all take for granted. However, we can lose it very simply by exposing ourselves to loud noises. In the farming environment, we use large equipment, we use noisy equipment in our shops, we use gas engines, and sometimes livestock situations are noisy. We should stop and think about those exposures we're putting ourselves through and consider what we can do to protect ourselves. We need to think about the situations we're putting ourselves in. Our hours of exposure, the way we're using our equipment, are there other steps we can take, and finally protecting ourselves with personal protective equipment, hearing muffs or earplugs. What we need to do is act. We need to take those thoughts, use the protections, and protect our hearing so that we can go home at the end of the day much safer with our hearing intact.
Young workers are key to the growth and future of our industry, but also represent a group that is exposed to workplace hazards all too often. When you are assigning a task to a young worker, stop. Recognize that they may be new to the job and have limited experience. Think, have they ever driven that pickup or tractor that you're asking them to operate? Have they ever been trained on working around large animals? And then act. By asking them the questions and giving them the information that will help keep them out of harm's way, could open the door to getting them the training they need. By stopping, thinking, and acting, you can ensure they have a positive experience working in our great industry, can work confidently, be more productive employees, and can go home every night healthy, safe, and injury-free.
Stop, think, act. 3 simple words that when used together can be powerful and save a life. The first time I heard about this idea was at a meeting. It was explained that it is an easy, free concept that can be applied to any situation by any age. I thought it was unique and complete. I loved it. That evening over dinner, I shared it with my family. We discussed different scenarios. Stop. What's the worst thing that could happen? Think, do I have the right tools, training, and equipment? And act. Follow proper procedures and don't rush. We use this rationale when discussing changing a light bulb on a ladder, as well as feeding our cattle. It worked every time. The conversation finished when the table was cleared and everyone went about their evening. A few weeks later, my husband and son were going to be moving corn. This involved augers and tractors. They would be using a PTO, a power takeoff. PTOs are used for many jobs on the farm and must be respected. As always, I said, be careful. My son returned to our kitchen a couple hours later and said, "Mom, you were in my head today." Every mom likes to hear this, but I asked him to explain. He was watching the auger move the grain and realized he needed to go to the other side of the tractor. He had seen it done before and thought to step over the spinning shaft, but he heard the word stop. What could happen? He could slip or be drawn into that spinning shaft. He thought about what he could do and instead realized it was just as easy and safer to walk around the front of the tractor. Wow, a simple conversation over dinner may have saved my son. It didn't take long to use this idea. It didn't cost anything, and it was easy. Stop, think, act. 3 words when put together are a powerful tool that anyone can use, young and old, to farm safe, not lucky. Safety is everyone's responsibility, and it can be as easy as just starting that conversation.
Contact with machinery can cause serious injuries that can change the rest of your life. Augers, conveyors, and harvesting equipment can be sources of several different hazards. Unfortunately, contact with objects and equipment is a more common injury and presents a risk to all workers. While there are several different solutions available, take a stop, think, act approach when working around machinery. Stop. What am I about to do around this particular machine? Look for hazards associated with the equipment. For example, augers are potentially very dangerous. Becoming entangled or dragged into machines can lead to serious injuries, amputations, and sometimes death. When looking for mechanical hazards, think, does it move? Could I reach it? And will it hurt me? Watch out for loose clothing. A shirt tail, a glove, even a shoelace can catch on a piece of rotating equipment and lead to entanglement. Also, take a second to consider what may have changed since the last time you used this machine. Were the guards removed during maintenance and not reinstalled? Have the weather conditions changed? Has the ground become slippery with rain or ice? What could happen to you while working around the machine? Think, how are you going to do the work with this machine? Are you doing the work in the safest way or the quick way? Am I trying to get too many things done? Am I rushing to get the work finished? Am I distracted by an argument with a coworker or family member? Distractions can affect your ability to work safely. Consider if old habits are creeping into your decision. Just because you've seen someone else do the job, it may not be the safest or best way. Do you have the right equipment, tools, and training for that job? Every job can have its own challenges and related hazards. What do you have to keep you safe? Act. Make it safe. If you can't do the job safely, stop the work. This is especially important if you're uncomfortable with the machine or the task. If you need help, go and ask somebody for help. If guards are missing, make sure they're in place before you start the job. Make sure you follow the safe work procedures, and in some cases, this may include locking out the equipment to ensure it cannot start while you're working with it. Every job comes with some sort of hazard. There may even be several different types of hazards with one job. Even a moment of inattention can have tragic results. Take the time to stop, think, and then act. By following these 3 simple steps, you're on your way to creating a safer work environment.
Most farms are operated by a single person, or maybe another one, and a lot of machinery repairs and maintenance needs to be done away from farm buildings in isolated areas. So you need to stop. Do you have the proper equipment to do these things? What could go wrong? Rotating blades could cut off a hand or a foot. Machinery could fall down and crush someone underneath that's working on it. If you take a shortcut and step over the power takeoff shaft, it could result in entanglement. Think, do you have everything in place that you need to do? Is your machinery maintained properly? Could help arrive on time if necessary. Act. Make certain that you tell people where you are, that you have a cell phone handy, and that people are aware of your return in case something does go wrong. Do you have first aid equipment ready and handy and people that know how to use it? Farmers often work in isolation and they need to stop, think, and act and make sure that they have a safe work environment for the jobs that they do.
We live in very noisy times. Sound seems to encompass us wherever we are. We need to stop and think about how noisy it is where we are right now. We need to think how to prevent this hearing loss by either using hearing protection or just even moving away from the noise to a more comfortable area. We need to act by using up-to-date and proper hearing protection for the noise levels we are in. By doing that, we'll prolong our hearing for many years to come.
It's critically important that the approximately 500,000 ATVs owned in Ontario are used in a way that is safe. At the time of starting your engine, it's best to stop, to consider where you're going to go, what you're going to do, and the risks that might arise. Weather and terrain conditions, the vehicle's high center of gravity and speed are only some of the issues to be considered. Then it's time to think about whether you and the ATV are truly ready for operation. Vehicles need to be in good working order, and they need to have a registered permit, they need to carry a license plate, and they have to be covered with motor vehicle insurance. Now you're ready to act with the understanding that you have the ability to prevent accidents and injury by operating your ATV responsibly and not pushing it beyond the limits for what it was designed. By committing to a plan of stop, think, and act, you will ensure that safety is not compromised and you'll have a good outcome.
Working alone can be very dangerous, and yet in some occupations, it's unavoidable. Working alone is one of the leading causes of stress in our agricultural workplaces. Add to this the long hours and the type of work being performed, we increase our risk. And in some cases, working alone can be eliminated, or at least the stress lessened. We just need to do our part in proper work planning. Our safety fundamentals are pretty clear. We need to first stop and consider. What could go wrong? How bad could it be? Has anything changed? Could be weather, piece of equipment that you're using, or the type of crop or the field that you're harvesting off of. Now we need to think, do I clearly understand the work? Did you receive the training? And are you competent to perform the work? Am I physically and mentally prepared? Knowing the workload and the expectations for the day, are you good? Act. What do you need to do to make the work safe? Maybe this is accomplished through communication devices like radios, phones, and establish times for checking in throughout your day, and stick to them. Don't be complacent. Reduce the risk by following proper procedures and work plans. Remember that any job, no matter how large or small, requires some thought and planning. The Stop, Think and Act principles prepare you for the day ahead, and by their design, they will keep you safe throughout your day.
In Canada, there are 10 to 13 fatalities of children on the farm every year. Growing up on the farm is one of the best ways to live. But before approaching machinery, you need to stop. Before you empty the grain wagon, start a motor. Then you can think about where everyone is. Where are the children? Where are the adults? Are they in a safe location? Are you in a safe location? And then act. Move your machinery, start your motors, but do it in a safe manner. And remember, your family loves you.
What do my friends need to know when they visit me on the farm? A great way to stay safe is to stop, think, and act. We stop and look at a lot of things like, are there any moving trucks? We think about, how can we be safe that the drivers see us? Where are the safe places to ride our bikes? So we act. We make eye contact with the driver. We stay on the grass away from moving vehicles. But most importantly, I teach my friends about stop, think, act, so they can get home safe.
Electricity is essential to the agricultural workplace. We wouldn't be able to run our milking sheds, charge our equipment, and do so many other jobs dependent on electricity. But there can be terrible consequences if we do not work safely around electricity. Whenever you are working around electricity, stop and consider the job you are doing. Ask yourself, what are the risks? What could go wrong? For example, if you are driving a tractor around overhead electrical lines, what could happen? Think, what do I need to do to get the job done safely? What can I do to remove or minimize the danger? How can I keep my family, friends, co-workers and myself safe? And then act by perhaps mapping out the electrical line paths or measuring your machinery to make sure it won't come in contact with the lines. And also informing everyone who will be working in that area about the danger. When we stop, think and act, we make our workplaces safe for everyone.
Young and new workers are critical to the agriculture sector because of our seasonality. We often hire either young people or offshore or new workers that have never worked in our sector before. We need to stop. We need to consider the exposures that these people have in the workplace. Often very dangerous mechanical situations or situations unfamiliar to people. We need to think. We need to think about, do they have the knowledge? Do they have the tools? Have they been trained? Have we taken the time to show them what they're doing? And are we willing to take the time to supervise them and make sure they are continuing to do the job correctly? Young workers, age appropriateness, and length of time are important because of fatigue. We need to take the action to make sure that these people can work on our farm, help us be productive, and go home safely every night.
Every day we work with and around our horses, but there can be consequences to our actions. Even the most experienced horse people can become injured working around well-trained horses. Whenever we work around a horse, we need to stop, think about what we're doing, what can happen. For example, you can become injured, your horse can become injured, or the people around you can become injured. In addition, the facility where you're working can also become damaged. Next, think, do I have the proper clothing and the tools for what I'm about to do? Do I have the proper training to work with this horse in this situation? Finally, act. Look at the horse's body language. He's talking to you. It's your job to listen. Approach slowly while talking, and if possible, approach to his shoulder. When we stop, think, and act, all our horse farms can be safer.